Well, of course, it's Good News Tuesday, and it was a good day. We had lots of good news to celebrate today. Stock was up almost $10, recovering most of the $20 drop on Friday. No news. Well, news. There was things. So okay, you analyze it. Why do you think it went up 10 today?
Oh, why? I think, well, there was a upgrade. There's a few banks talking about, I think there's an upgrade to 295. Um,
That was a new following from Deutsche Bank.
yep,
They had
yep.
stopped following the stock, and now they've got a new guy, and he's following it. Yep.
And then there was another institution, I forget which one, but they were saying that Tesla has big opportunities in autonomy and robotics, humanoids. So that's good. So I think, but I don't think that's why it went up. I think we're seeing the beginning of the run up into 1010.
Yeah, I think.
So I think that's what's happening here.
Yeah, I think it was more like Friday was the anomaly, and now Monday and Tuesday have just gotten us back to where we probably would have been without that weirdness. So, but we have about 15, 16, 17 points, I think, to get back to the all-time high for the, I mean, I'm sorry, to get back to green for the year.
Yes, I guess that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think it was also. I think a lot of it, not a lot of it. That's the wrong word, but I do think some of the airs coming out of Apple, um, and that's airs coming out of Apple, some airs coming out of Nvidia, and if you start to assess where AI is actually happening, taking place, I think anyone who's actually looking in the space, they see Tesla, Robotaxi days coming up, and we saw what Apple just did for their AI event. It's like, okay, well, now let's see what Tesla's about to do. So I think there's some excitement for that as
Right. So
well. So
you brought up an interesting thing, and I know we talked about it in the green room ahead of time that there was AJ has been kind of on this, and we've talked a lot about AJ's. He really does some great work out there. We saw Ford down, General Motors down, Volkswagen down, Mercedes down, all of them falling today. In some cases, sharply. AJ's been talking about this for a while. Larry and I talked about it at length last night that these other companies are absolutely failing in China. I mean, it's kind of over for all of them in China. They're not doing great in Europe. And so you sit there and you go, they're pulling back their horns with regard to EVs, but yet EVs are, the future. I mean, pretty much everybody agrees on that. Hybrids are just a bridge. And it seems like these guys are just kind of treading water like the newspapers did and like the flashlight makers did and like like the DVD players, like the what was that store called where you went and got those movies? You got them
Blockbuster,
you got some movies at a big so what do you
Blockbuster, Movie Max. Yeah, there's a few of them. Something flicks.
Yeah, yeah. So is that what we're seeing? Is this the beginning of people getting that?
Honestly, I don't think so, Randy. I don't. I don't think you're correct in saying that pretty much everybody agrees that EVs are the future. I actually don't think a lot of people do. Um, I think a lot of people think that EVs are a fad and that they're a blip in the radar. But I mean, we'll see. Time will tell. But I think it's the only knock on EVs, which is a real knock, is okay. They don't go 500 miles in distance, and if you're going to charge it, it takes longer than fill up your gas vehicle. True, both of those are true, but a pragmatic person would say, how often are you driving those lengths? And even when you do, all right, who cares? Maybe on your total trip, you add, if you're going from, I'm in Florida for here to Boston, maybe we take an extra hour and a half on our trip there. Like, is that really that big of a deal to have it be more affordable as far as the fuel consumption? And really never having to worry about anything breaking down. Like that's the biggest thing to me. Like when you have a vehicle, especially like my background is I'm an engineer, but my first degree was in mechanical engineering and electrical engineering. So for me, if something happened to my vehicle, it's like, okay, it's no big deal. I know how to fix it, but it's not exactly okay. It kind of can be fun, but it's not something you look forward to, right? The nice thing about electric vehicle is that if you don't know anything, I mean, how many
Yeah.
times have you seen people open up their hood and like they look and they're like, okay, now what? I thought the answer would be obvious. You're never going to have that moment with your EV. Like you're
Well,
just not.
and I'm the guy in the middle. My dad and I did everything to cars when I was growing up, but I hated every minute of it. And I made a deal with myself that once I graduated law school, I would never, ever, ever work on another car in my life. And I've been pretty good to that. My daughter, I ended up encouraging her to buy what turned out to be a clunker. And so I did get my fingers greasy again, helping her with that car. But other than that, I've been good to it. Moreover, if I do open it today, it doesn't look anything like the car that I was opening up 30, 40 years ago. So,
Yeah, that's a so like I grew up working on cars. I mean, I'm a wrench turner at heart. Like I love tinkering on things. I like taking things apart, cleaning up, rebuilding them. It's fun, right? It's a novelty. I like the fact that you can have all these linkages combined together, turning energy into electrical energy to mechanical energy. It's cool, but it's cool in a steampunk novelty way, just a way like me and my wife went riding horses the other day, right? That's fun because it's
right.
cool, it's a novelty, but it's not something I want to rely on every single day, and it's definitely not the future. So I don't know. I think people will eventually come to terms with it, and again, the reality is less costs, not having to worry about things breaking down. Like it's just a peace of mind.
But
So
a but AJ does
that to me alone makes it the future.
But AJ does, make a pretty good point as he's been tearing into these various financial reports from these other car companies that they are all declining in sales. They're not necessarily all declining in profits, but they're not. There's no there's no way to predict that they're going to have a rosy future. Mostly, it looks like they're going to just continue to decline. Since where's it going to come from? Where's their new sales going to come from? The Chinese I get, what did he say today? AJ said today, BYD and Tesla will be sitting atop the top of the pile for the entire world. And then everybody else will just be, the also rans. Well, possibly. I've said, of course, I think Hyundai Kia might be in that game. And some people believe Toyota will figure it out, but who else?
Well, but you're talking about just the EVs, right?
No, the whole
And
business.
but so my point is there's still more ICE vehicles sold than EVs,
Right.
right? And that alone tells you that there isn't consensus that this is the future yet,
Okay.
right? I would say either you need to see EV sales accelerating, or you need to see a greater than 50% of the Annum sales be EVs in order to actually say that the masses agree that the future is EVs. My point is, it's still early days, which is crazy when it comes to EVs. But I think that conversation is the wrong conversation to have, and especially today, perfect day where the invitations went out for 1010. That's the right question. It's when does autonomy happen? Because autonomy will make those people who don't believe it's the future irrelevant, because you're just going to pay for the service. You're not going to care what the underlying powertrain is. You just want the service.
Right. Right. Yeah. And there's a whole story on that in terms of our expectations. On the one hand, people talk, there's a bunch of crossovers that are going to take place over the next 5 years if we're right, or 6, 7 years, if we're right about autonomy, if we're right about BEVs, if we're right about Optimus robots, even about all the rest of AI. There's going to be some crossovers that people, I don't think, are looking forward enough to think about. One of those big crossovers is going to take place is You may not need 80 million cars a year to be produced. If autonomy becomes the thing, autonomy is going to end up replacing some of that. You're going to have, yes, go ahead.
Can you be a little more specific on what you're saying there? Are you saying autonomous vehicles will go shrink down, or are you saying in general, including autonomous vehicles, you'll have less?
Yeah, in general, you'll have less because you'll have an autonomous vehicle representing, at least according to Elon, the equivalent of 5 vehicles in terms of transporting people here and there and everywhere. Now, yes, it might draw from airplanes. Autonomous vehicles might draw from airplanes. It might draw from public transportation. It might increase the number of rides that people want to take in a passenger vehicle, an automobile type vehicle. But I don't know that that's necessarily going to outstrip the number of vehicles that don't need to be purchased in the future because somebody like me doesn't need a car anymore.
So I think you'll see an increase in vehicles sold per year or vehicles built per year. I think autonomy increases the amount of vehicles we end up having, is how I see it. I actually think like things like traffic and all that will get worse with autonomy because there's just so many different forcing functions when moving from point A to point B is so cost effective that it's irrelevant. You do more things. You're willing to live in different places. You're willing to travel to certain places. That becomes less friction or a measure of cost, right? Like a lot of people. To me, you just talked about planes, trains, and obviously automobiles. Imagine if you don't have to pay $400 for a ticket to go to New York or to Boston, right? And let's say it costs you $15. $20. I don't know. Like you pick a number. I'm just saying it's cost effective, right?
Right.
Or just micro traveling, right? If you don't need a vehicle anymore, if nobody has vehicles anymore, and to your point, you just have autonomy. There are so many people who don't have vehicles to begin with. I mean, and you imagine, why do you need a school bus? Why would you have a school bus at that point? Why would I put my kid on a school bus? No, like every kid, like I just see the rides going up. There's so many different use cases.
Yeah, so it is possible it could go the other way also. I would say that we know less about what's going to happen in terms of use, in terms of additional use, than we do about the potential, almost certain reality that some people will not drive anymore at all. They'll just, I've already given up my car, and that's just with Uber and Lyft. So we're down to one car, but if we had the autonomous vehicles and it was less expensive than maintaining a vehicle, we'd go down to 0.
I think we would still have a vehicle.
But maybe one.
Yeah, Cybertruck. Okay, no, maybe 2. Sorry, I'm lying to you here. Okay, we'd have 3 vehicles.
3 vehicles.
We'd put the Model Y to work. Okay, so maybe you count that as 0.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
So we'd put that to work.
Yeah, you don't got that.
We'd have the Cybertruck.
Yeah.
And then you have to have dessert. So we'd have the Roadster.
There you go. So you're talking toys, not vehicles. Okay. So listen, as long as we're debating,
Yes.
it's a day for debate. We know the debate's coming up shortly. We'll talk about the debate in a minute, but let's talk about the ongoing debate that you and I've had about the Robotaxi rollout. I've got a new scenario. Okay, let me lay out my scenario, and you pick it apart. Okay, I'm thinking that very shortly, maybe this is what you already said, but very shortly after 10:10, there will be the app will be turned on, and there will be supervised drives. Okay, so people will be able to turn on they'll be able to call a car. It will be a Tesla car. It will be on the Tesla app, have nothing to do with Uber, Lyft, anybody else. The car will come, but there will be a driver sitting in the driver's seat. So this will go on for a period of time until Tesla believes it's okay to be unsupervised. Now, maybe it's unsupervised for personal use before it's unsupervised for the taxi. I don't know, don't care, but something like that. So it might take weeks, it might take months before the supervised portion of it is removed as they gather data about the entire system. Then once they do take this driver out of, no longer requires supervision, there will be a remote driver. This is based on conversations with Brian Wong and et cetera, that's what's happening now. It's what's happening in China. I think there will initially be the supervised driver, the remote driver rather, for really, really weird cases and weird situations, partially as a customer service person to help the person that's in the car if they run into some kind of problem. So, but the car, so whatever happens, the inference chip will be the first potential resolution. So the inference chip might even be the one that talks to the passenger and says, well, here's what you do, okay? But then if the inference chip, even in a fraction of a second, if the inference chip says, hey, I don't know what to do about this, it goes to the big Colossus computer in the sky, and the Colossus computer might take a shot within fractions of a second at coming up with a solution for whatever's going on with the car. And then finally, if not, then the screen flashes on in front of this remote controlled person. He may be remote controlling 5 in the early days, and then maybe later it becomes 10, becomes 20 as the system becomes better and better and better. So that is my new analysis of how things are going to work. And you say?
You had me up until you started talking about there being remote people. Yes, I've been saying this whole time that after 1010, they'll announce early next year or whatever that they'll start Robotaxi with supervised drivers, something like that, I imagine. And I think you have to have a human in the loop for a little bit to prove out the feasibility to be able to show regulators. Same way Waymo and Cruise had to go. I imagine that's how you would want to do it anyways, because you've seen it prove out to regulators that way. So why reinvent the wheel on that front? But from there, I do not believe that there will be remote drivers. I think that is something that they have to do because they have a brittle system. I don't think Tesla will. I don't think they need it today, right now, with me. I can't think of a single situation that my vehicle has gotten stuck at that if it could just reverse that. I mean, I've seen my car try to reverse, but it's not allowed to reverse.
Right.
So I don't think that will be the case. Will there be customer support? Again, I've said yes, of course there'll be customer support. There, a car can't fix its own flat tire.
Mhm.
If a door gets stuck, if a windshield gets cracked, right? Like there's all kinds of things that can come up that obviously you'll need to be able to have customer support. But I don't think you'll have customer support drivers. I don't think that will be a thing. Your whole theory about Colossus, so that's XAI. That will not happen, in my opinion. And Cortex won't happen either. That's Tesla's at Texas. Cortex and Colossus are both training.
I got it backwards. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So
Cortex.
either way, they're both training clusters. They're not inference clusters. So what they do is fundamentally different. So that wouldn't work either. You're not going to call a training computer to tell me what to do when I'm stuck. That doesn't mean that they couldn't build out a mega inference infrastructure. So, maybe that could be something that they do. But even then, I'm of the opinion that latency is too much to risk for safety. So that's kind of how I see it. Again, I don't know. You don't hear it publicly about Waymo or anyone else in the West actually having remote drivers. You don't actually hear about that. No.
Cruise did.
We don't know.
Oh no,
we don't know.
No, they said it was 1.5 per car.
Yeah, no, they had people monitoring. We don't know if they were driving. We don't know if they actually did output functions. I am very skeptical that anyone's doing that, including the Chinese. I really don't buy it. It's just the latency is too much compared to real time, and that
Hmm,
just seems way too dangerous to me,
hmm,
right? You can see latency just here when you and I speak, and we're just talking about words. Imagine life and death situation. I want to reverse, and somebody just pulled out right behind me.
mhm.
What happens if there's a packet drop, and all of a sudden the connection is lost? What then? What? It's too brittle of a solution. That's my opinion. I think Tesla will do this the right way. I don't think they'll need that. So that's what I think. But aside from those parts, I you're saying exactly what I've been preaching, that I do think that we will have a supervised robotaxi out there, a supervised Tesla Uber, if you will. And as that proves out feasibility, so on and so forth.
All right. Okay, let's move on to the next one then. I love to leave unresolved debates. They're much more fun. Then we can talk about it again.
Oh, it'll get resolved eventually.
So Andre Karpathy and John Gibbs this morning were Andre wasn't actually on the show. He was just talking about a video that Andre had done with someone else. And both of them were acting like they thought maybe they were just being cautious, but they were looking at 2026 or further before they thought that the autonomous robotaxis would be operational.
Um, I don't disagree with that.
Okay.
I think likely end 2025 at the earliest.
End of 2025. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's what Elon said for, production for the Robotaxi
Yeah, I'm not
would
talking
be
about
mid to.
I'm not talking about the separate robo cab or the cyber cab. I'm talking about my car that I now have my
Mm,
neighbor out there who's a teenager who's willing to willing to sit there for $20 an hour, as a supervised driver. And then we take him out of there. You think it'll be the end of 25 before we can take him out of there?
um, I think I think that it's really going to depend on when they start having supervised robotaxi. From there, I think we will know more.
Mhm.
It's hard to say because I think the fundamental question is going to be, what do regulators want to see? Which regulators? At what level? Is it county, municipality, state, or a certain jurisdiction? Are there also NHTSA federal requirements, right? Where does that go? Because they're going to be trying to do this in a lot of places. I imagine it's going to be sporadic. For instance, I bet you where I live here, we'll have unsupervised robotaxis before you see it in San Francisco, that you'll see it in Austin before you see it in New York City,
Mhm.
right? So I think it'll be based on states and cities and what they allow and how fast they want to push. They may have more stringent rules. They may not want to be the first to let Tesla do this. So I think that's how it'll go. But I would be surprised if we don't see no human behind the wheel sometime in 2025. I would be surprised. 'Cause, like I said, like even right now, I feel like my car would be just fine. It just needs to be able to reverse.
Yeah, right.
Like, don't get me wrong. Like every once in a while, it makes a decision I don't like,
Yeah, yeah.
but they're not safety critical things. It's more preference.
Okay. All right. Okay. So you're being cautious as well. I'm always the optimist. I'm thinking that, it'll be January 15th or something, but, and that's not,
Nah,
I'm hyperbolizing in that particular case, but I do
I was gonna
think,
say we're putting bets here, then, Brandy.
yeah, you'll take the overs, huh? Or the unders, whichever that would be. Okay. Similarly then with Optimus, some people have been talking, well, Elon even said, on the All In podcast, All In their big conference. He said, he thought he thought, a million optimi is maybe I wasn't 100% sure. Was he kind of implicating 28 or 27? Do you think? I was trying to figure that out.
Yeah, I don't remember off the top of my head, but I would say probably 28 would be more realistic.
For a million.
Yeah, probably. I mean, we're in 25. I bet you by the end of this year they'll have like several tens. Um, then in 25, probably several hundreds.
Well, he said 1,000 or more. He said thousands, he said.
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay.
I say several hundreds. And then 26, you could have maybe like 10,000. 27, yeah. So yeah, 27, 28 for a million. I could see that. Yeah.
Okay. So you don't think they'll be able to ramp it as fast as they can ramp a Cybertruck?
I don't think it's that. I don't think it has anything to do with ramping it. I think it has to do with, does it make sense to build out a million of these if we need to make some hardware tweaks, if we need to work on the software a little more? I don't think the hardware is the limitation here. I think it's all about the software and usability. So I think they're going to learn a lot when they have, say, several hundred in the factory working, doing things, screwing things up. Maybe, I mean, he was just talking about how they moved, all of the actuators to the forearm, and now they're using right. So that's what they're learning at small scale. What happens when they go a little bit bigger scale and they have Optimus working in the factories? What do they learn then? Right? Maybe they make adjustments to the feet or the legs. Maybe they want to move the battery somewhere. Maybe they need to put in a bigger computer. Maybe they need higher parameters. I mean, they're going to learn so much that I think that will be the forcing function of change. And then training. That'll be the name of the game here. So I don't think yes, they could build a million of these probably by the end of next year if they wanted to. It's just setting up a line. I think it'd be a lot easier than a vehicle, but that's not the limiting factor in my opinion.
Okay. All right. Okay. Interesting. All right. So Mario Nafal says Oracle plans a data center powered by small nuclear reactors. Did you see that article?
I did not.
So that's a big one. That's huge. So they're going to have 3 modular nuclear reactors, according to Larry Ellison. And they'll produce a gigawatt of power with these 3 small modular reactors. Of course, I've been all about the modular reactors for years. I was thinking they would start putting those things in a decade ago. So what do you think? I don't know that we've talked about modular reactors with you before.
We haven't. Yeah, I think the technology there is getting really interesting. A lot of the core melts are kind of a thing of the past. I know a lot of people still think about that. There's a lot of new again, I wouldn't say breakthroughs. They're just they're level 3 nuclear reactors. They work actually a lot more similar to like what submarines work like, but the idea is there's less of having to transfer out cores. You can easily cool them. There's no meltdowns. There's just lots more checks and balances, and they're easier to build. But yeah, the problem with nuclear though is twofold. One, there's just a social viewpoint of it where they're scary, they're dangerous, and that's not really pragmatic. But the second part, which I do think is pragmatic of a concern, is that God forbid there's a big war or anything like that, they're really good targets to cause massive destruction.
Oil fields seem to be the same thing though.
Yeah, but oil fields tend to not be in dense city populated areas. They're not going to really cause big destruction. I mean, a lot of them are offshore.
Have you been to the house that I lived over off of La Brea in
I have not been
West
to your
Los
house.
Angeles? Yeah, I still own a house over. It's just off La Brea and La Cienega. There's one of the biggest oil fields you're ever going to see. It's about, I don't know how many thousands of acres or maybe, yeah, hundreds, easily hundreds and hundreds of acres of oil fields. But anyway, I'm sorry, that's not fair.
Yeah.
But it was like I don't know, 500 yards from my front door.
Yeah. If someone's listen, if you're gonna have nuclear reactors, they're probably going to be somewhere near New York City, Miami, DC, San Francisco, LA, Austin, right? Things like that. Um, you're not going to have oil fields near any of those places.
Yeah, I was thinking that these mini nukes though would be so small that they're, some of them are the size of a container, so they wouldn't really necessarily be great targets for any significant, I don't think, destruction compared to, say, a middle-sized nuke like the ones that the Chinese are building right now.
Yep. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know any of the game theory as far as what
Right, right.
a war situation like that would look like what your strategic combat zones would be. The United States, I mean, not to go into talking about combat strategy, but the United States is very well strategically located geographically. We're a very hard country to get to. We're going to see any attacks coming from a long shot. Our biggest adversaries don't have bases right off our coast. I mean, they've tried, right? Cuba, they've tried Canada, but it's really hard to attack. And we're such a large country, right? So it's, yeah, we're geographically very, very lucky.
You posted earlier today about the AIROI. The artificial intelligence return on investment strategy. This has been the big topic of discussion. People are saying that that NVIDIA is down because there's questions about the ability to prove out the ROI. The All In podcast guys that talk about it almost every week now. Apple Computer, the show yesterday, their reveal yesterday was all about whether or not they were going to be able to show some evidence of something that was going to prove out the ROI, which they did not do. But apparently you have some very strong opinions on this. So I'll just let you go.
So I'm not actually sure what you're talking about. I have a pinned tweet that people
Oh,
have
were you
been
pinning somebody?
reposting it here.
Okay.
Well, no, it's a tweet I have pinned. I've had it pinned since early July.
Oh, it's
Maybe
not
this
true.
weird. Yeah, this must be
Okay.
what you're talking about. So I said the LLM hype cycle is coming to an end. The ROI expected is going to be in LLMs, and that seems clear for now. Useful, yes. Overhyped, yes. Commoditized already, yes. AI ROI will be in autonomy and humanoids, not LLMs. Mark my words. So I pinned that back in July 11th. Yeah. So I'm assuming that's what you're referring to.
Right, right. So outside
Yeah.
of everybody here understands the humanoid part of it and the robotaxi part of it. What about the rest though? What about even outside of the Tesla world? Well, uh, what do you believe that it's in fact overhyped to the point where the stocks that are involved are now too high, too expensive?
Um, some of them, yes. Most of them, yes. Not Nvidia, and even though I have my own biases, just full disclosure, um, not the hyperscalers.
Okay.
And I'll explain to you why. So, not Nvidia is the easiest one, and not Nvidia because AI is happening. It's been happening. It's been happening since before ChatGPT. ChatGPT is just when the culture woke up to what was happening, right? We'd all been driving around with FSD for a while. Anyone in who's in the space has been knows what deep learning, machine learning, all that's been going on for a long time now. Neural nets aren't anything new, right? It's just we've gotten to a certain place. GPT, the attention, it's all you need white paper. That was a huge breakthrough that led eventually to ChatGPT. Even the guys who wrote that paper didn't even know what they had, right? So it was just this right place, right time, minds, all that happening. And so that led to a lot of things. But so my point with NVIDIA is that in order to make progress in the space, no matter what, you're going to have these GPUs, right? Because I believe what Jensen's saying, that every CPU will be replaced by GPUs. And the reason for that is because with the GPU, imagine you have a one lane road, right?
Mhm.
One lane going that way, one lane coming this way. That's
Mhm.
all you got.
Mhm.
Then you look at a highway that has like 6 lanes going each way. A GPU is like that 6 lane highway with 15 levels on it. That's what a GPU is. So it doesn't just scale parallel, but volumetrically as well in operations. So it's a really big deal. Whereas a CPU is just that kind of serial operation. All right. We call it like CPU scheduling
Right.
cycles. You have a job, you literally have like a scheduler that does these jobs. If you have like a dual core, right? You got NUMA boundaries that you have to work. Okay. Sorry if I'm getting too techie here. So the point is, GPUs really make all those jobs way more efficient, and you can do way more with a lot less. So data centers, hyperscalers, they will all have to update. Anything you want to do in this AI world with these large neural nets, you'll have to have GPUs. So NVIDIA is here to stay. They're not overhyped. They're down. They're down a little bit right now. Okay, it's like it's taking a breather.
Yeah.
They're going to continue to grow for a long time.
Okay.
All right. The demand's there. Hyperscalers, they kind of have the same benefit as Nvidia, meaning where does every company have pretty much all their data?
No.
In AWS and Azure and GCP.
Right.
And guess what? With anything AI, what really matters is what data you have. And many companies have proprietary data that's very unique, very nuanced as to whatever their business is. And so wherever that data is, there's a lot of gravity in data. And so these hyperscalers will benefit that these companies who are already running on there, spinning their meters, right?
Mhm.
Because you
Yep.
think of
Yep.
the hyperscalers just as electric company. As long as your business is running and it's growing, that meter's spinning faster and faster. Well, now we have this new sexy thing called AI, and all these companies want to learn and experiment and train. Guess what? Those meters are spinning faster and faster and faster. So the hyperscalers would benefit from it, and those meters spinning faster will allow them to reinvest a lot of those profits into them experimenting within their own R&D to offer other AI services back to those clients, right? And it's just this thing that feeds itself, right? It's this flywheel that's virtuous. So hyperscalers will do good, NVIDIA will do well. All right, so then comes the real question: who else? That's a great question, because if you ask me, a company like ChatGPT, OpenAI, it won't be them, because yeah, it was cool. ChatGPT came out, we could all interface with it, but that's been commoditized. Everybody has the LLM now. I mean, hell, Elon started XAI, built the biggest supercomputer in the world, and has Grok 2 that's comparable to ChatGPT's, or the best ChatGPT, in less than a year. He did all
Right.
that.
Right.
So, yeah, it's been commoditized. So, LLMs are not going to be a thing. So, where's the utility that's going to be unique enough to be something you can actually charge for? LLMs, chatbots are not unique enough that you could really charge for and scale. Yeah, you can charge $3 a month here or there, $20 a month here or there. That's not going to be something that really makes you a lot of money. So there's a problem with a lot of these companies that put AI at the end of their name for everything, because
Mhm.
they don't have a killer app, if you will, for AI. And this dovetails why I believe so strongly in Tesla, because autonomy is a killer app and a humanoid is a killer app. So that's kind of how I'm thinking about this. And trust me, I'm constantly looking. The only thing that I could see that could be interesting would be something in the security space. something that could help people be more secure, find vulnerabilities, detect things ahead of time. And that starts to smell a lot like Palantir, right? Palantir is, and I I have time. I'm supposed to be meeting with um oh goodness gracious, my memory's failing me. Amit, who talks about Palantir a lot. Um, I asked him if we could do something shortly here. I was going to have Farzad and Hans on as well to talk about Palantir because I just want to learn a little bit more about it. But from my understanding, really what Palantir does is they will go into companies, they take their data, they set up their pipelines so that they can take their data, ETL it, cleanse it, put it into the proper data lake, write schemas, pull it, architect it, train it, iterate, teach the team, help them become successful, show them how using their data that they have, they can draw, inference and find anomalies, all these things. And that starts to smell a little bit like the security realm. I don't
Uh-huh.
know everything they do, but that's as deep as I've gone with Palantir. That's the only other place that I can see. Excuse me, I lied. There's one other place besides security. There could be something in genomics, but we just haven't really seen anything that
Uh,
really sticks out yet. So that's it. That's what I see. NVIDIA, obvious. Hyperscalers, to me, pretty obvious. Tesla is the killer of all of them. And then maybe Palantir, space, security space, and then maybe genomics. If you can find if you can find the cure to XYZ,
right.
that could be big.
That would be huge. Yeah.
So hopefully that answered your question.
All right.
That's
Well, yeah, of course it does. And of course we could talk on probably for another half an hour about it, but let's go on to CPI comes out tomorrow and the Fed decision is 8 days away. And you think?
um I think tomorrow's market will not move because CPI, it'll move because of the debate tonight.
I see. Okay. And
I
so
think CPI is at nothing burger. I think it's over.
it's over.
I think CPI, I think PPI is over. They have, this is where I think the jobs number is such a con job because they have gotten to a point where they are getting PCE dead right. They're getting CPI dead right. They're getting PPI dead right. Yet somehow they still can't get the jobs number dead
Yeah.
right. Come on. Right. They're getting Tesla delivery numbers dead right. Right. Eventually, these analysts, these, Wall Street market, whatever you want to call them, they tend to they start to normalize to figure out what the right formula is to get the right number. They can't do it for the job numbers, apparently, though. So I think CPI will be nothing burger. I think everybody knows what it's going to be already. I think consensus pretty. What do you think? Do you think I'm crazy for saying that?
Oh no, I think it's shocking to me that they can't figure out how to get the job numbers right. And I think the CPI number, they get it right. If you're talking about the analysts that are predicting what it'll be, are you talking about that they don't have to make revisions in the CPI the way that they do with the jobs numbers?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So the analysts have been very accurate as of late on all these
Guessing this.
inflationary numbers. Yeah. So I think the market has already priced in what it's going to be. I don't think we'll see a shock tomorrow when it
All
comes
right. So
to
do you
CPI
think,
or PPI.
so do you think the Fed goes, because you've had very strong opinions on this over the year, 25 or 50?
There was a article that I meant to read that I haven't read. It was titled something like the Fed, something about concerns. I didn't get to read it. I really wish I did, but the headline made forget I said that. I heard the best thing today on CNBC where somebody said that he thinks that they should probably do a 50 basis point, he thinks they will do a 50 basis point. And the rebuttal was, well, don't you think the market will freak out to that and they'll think, oh, something's wrong? And he said, if they wanted to, but you can easily say a 50 basis point and have a good, calm attitude about it and say, hey, yeah, we're just going to start off with a big one. And then we're slowly going to use 25s to just hone in on the right size. Like you don't start off with the small one and hone in. No, you take big chunks out. And as you get closer to the end, you start to, it's the same way we did with rate hikes, right? 75 or 50, 50, 75, 75, 75. Okay. 50. Okay. 25. Okay. 25. Okay. Pause. Okay. 25. Okay. Pause. Right. So I think I could see a 50. I really could.
All right. Okay. And then let's
What do you
go
think?
on. Oh, what do I think? I think right now he's not in the mood. He's going to go 25.
So much for the optimists here.
No, I think he's, I don't, well, first of all, I don't think that the data, I think that the recession data is very compelling. Obviously, I've been talking for months now that the recession started on June 1st. So I think the recession data is very compelling. I don't think the inflation data is that
October.
compelling. Huh?
October.
October.
I think that's when it started.
Oh, last October. Yeah. Okay. So I think the recession data is compelling. I don't think the inflation being over data is compelling. So that's the problem. So that's why I think he's going to go 25.
Okay.
That's why.
Yeah, we'll see.
All
I
right.
mean, honestly, the problem with 25 is it's does nothing.
Well, he says he said repeatedly that if they do it any kind of a first reduction, that this will not be a single reduction. It will. One of the reasons he's holding up so much, he says, is because it will be indicative of a direction. Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't think anybody thinks it'll be a one shot. It'll be 25, 25, 25.
How about this? I think the debate tonight could have an impact on it.
It could. It could. By the way, I'm kind of liking the fact that both candidates, and I've got nothing good to say about Kamala or her new information that they put up on the website yesterday because it was a real mess. But the fact that a lot of the subject matter right now is around the economy is interesting to me, and I've been very impressed with the sophistication of the content that's coming out of the Trump side. Everybody knows I'm biased on this, but the stuff coming out of Harris side is unsophisticated. It's like, oh, tax and spend, we've heard that before, but the stuff coming out in terms of tariffs and ways of attacking the various issues that we're facing, much higher level of sophistication. What do you think is going to happen in the debate tonight?
I let me just wrap or finish off what you were saying there about the candidates and the economy. I think if you haven't watched Elon on at the All In Summit, watch that interview. If you're on the fence of Trump or Kamala and Waltz and you're not sure, I highly recommend you watch it. Not saying like I think we need to stop thinking of this as a Trump or Kamala. I think you need to zoom out and think about what's going to be the best for the future. And right now, Trump is essentially tapping Elon to go in there and let's hope Trump sticks with it, right, and follows through, but to clean house. And Elon essentially go listen to it. It's very compelling. It says we got 4 years. This is like a once in a lifetime shot to fix this country.
And it's been done before. The Grace Commission under Reagan
Yeah.
was the same thing.
And he's gonna go and shock the system. And I think we need that because I don't think we can make it to 2030 at this rate with the way we're
And then,
exceeding our payments on interest. It's going to come to a point where all we're doing is all tax revenue is going to go straight to interest. Like it's going to be a problem. So I'm for the candidate that is going to be able to fix that. And the one person I know in this world that knows efficiency and knows how to cut is Elon Musk, and he's tied with Trump. To me, if you are on the fence or anything, go watch that because that man's not playing around. He wants to help. He wants to fix our country. And to me, that alone should be a reason for everybody in this country to vote for Trump. It's just 4 years, people. It's just 4 years. Let the greatest, most efficient entrepreneur of our lifetime, of probably ever, let him get in there, clean house, and save this freaking country. We
all right,
need it. We
all
need to
right.
go on a diet.
So in order for him to get in, he does need to he needs to get in. I mean, in order for him to do that, he needs to get in first. So how is the debate going to go tonight? Do we think it will be a one-sided victory? Do we think it'll be close? What do you think?
I think it's Trump's to lose. It's Trump's debate to lose. He doesn't have to do anything special. All the pressure's on Kamala. She's got to prove herself. She's got to show up. She's got to be funny, witty, not too serious, not too angry, right? She's like, every debate up to this point has been, like with Joe Biden, it's been, well, he just has to survive. He just has to not make too many faux pas. For the Democrats, for a long time, there hasn't been a lot of pressure on them. It's just been show up, don't have too many gaffes, and get out of there alive. That's I mean, just to be frank, that's how it's been. This is the first time for the Democrats in a long time that there's actually pressure to do well. You can't just come in and check a box. You got to so she's going to feel pressure. Her back's against the wall. She's going in there with polls going against her, betting odds going against her. There's lots of things going against her. So I think she's going to have to show out, and she's going to do what she's supposed to do. She's supposed to try to get under Trump's skin. She's supposed to try to get him to make a mistake, to say something silly, to say something controversial. If she can get out of there, getting him to say one thing controversial or have a slip up or just any little thing, then all of a sudden they can talk about that controversy all the way to the election. They can talk, if he slips up somehow, she can have, probably has something in her back pocket ready to go. Be like, oh, you talked about Biden is old, like did you really just say that? Like anything like that. So it's Trump's to lose. If Trump can stay cool, collected, I don't even know if I would go at her. I would just talk about what I'm going to do. I would talk about who I'm bringing. Be like, this isn't just Republicans. I got Kennedy. I got Elon Musk. Like, look what I have. Like, this is the unity party. It's not just the Republican. That would be my messaging. Anything she says, be like, yeah, that's great. I don't know why you haven't done it in the last 4 years. Anyways, what we're going to do, that's all I would be doing. I would not eat into it. He does that. He can't lose.
Okay. All right. Well, I hope he's listening to
Wait, what do you think? What do you think, Randy? You can't do this. You can't act. This is a conversation, brother.
Well, I started last night, and then Larry and I got interrupted a little bit. I think that Trump rarely loses a debate. Okay. I mean, I was in the first time that he ran in 2016, there was 11, I think, other people or 10 other people on the stage the first time. I was in favor of all 10 of them before Trump. And slowly but surely, he annihilated them. One after another, he drove them off the stage until it was only him. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm for him. And then he turned out to be amazing as a president. Well, then in 2020, we came back. He had how many? 7, 8 guys on the stage, whatever it was. And one after another, he annihilated them. So he's very, very good. Somebody said today, I thought it was a great quote. He said, Elon Musk does not debate in the traditional way. He doesn't debate using the rules of the debate process. He is, he creates, they didn't say this, but I could add, he adds a little chaos. And so that throws off people that have been traditionally trained in debate methods. And my response was on X, I said, shh, don't tell all of those people around the world that he's going to be China and Russia and North Korea, et cetera. That's the whole point. That's what he does to everybody. He throws them off because he doesn't go in with the same old, same old. He's always got some other way to approach the deal. So anyway, that's what I think. I think he'll be funny. I think he'll be, hopefully the main thing I hope, which everybody talks about, you sort of talked about, is that he's presidential, that he manages it at a level of not having to show that other side. This is not the time. This is not the place. Early in the primaries, yeah, you can do that. At this stage, no. You have to be the biggest man in the room, but you can still be funny and fun, and still have a couple of moments.
Well, one other thing that I hope somebody says to him, smile, just smile a little bit. Like he's a great smile. Like just smile. Like don't sit there with your you're upset to be here kind of face. Like I think that will go a long way as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah. I mean, yeah, it's the little things, but yeah, again, I think this is all the pressure on Kamala, in my opinion,
Oh,
and she can't come up par. She's
no,
gotta and he just has to be aware that that's what she's gonna do. She's gonna come in knowing that she has to get a a couple birdies.
yeah,
So all he has to do is shoot par.
that's right. It's true. It's true. I agree with you. All right. So for today, the Dow was down 92. The NASDAQ was down 140. I mean, sorry, it was up. The NASDAQ was up 141. S&P was up 24.47, and Tesla was up $9.90. Apple was down a tad, and the rest of the Mag 7 were up. And the Cathie Woods eventually found a way to be up as well. So it was a little bit of a mixed market because the Dow was down. And then let's go ahead and take a look at the bonds, which were also the bonds themselves were up, which means that the yield continued to go down. We are now at 3.637 on the 10-year. And that means that mortgages are inching very close to 6%. I looked it up just before we went on, 6.22 on the 30-year right now on average. So 3.637, and we've also, since I saw you last, what did we do? We did reinvert. The two-year finally very, very clear reinversion now. In fact, it's now down to almost 6 basis points right now as I'm looking at it. 5 basis points. So the reinversion now is firm, and the 2-month, however, continues to blow my mind. It is actually up, believe it or not. So I've given up even thinking about that much, but just reporting on it. Any thoughts on the bonds, interest rates, etc.?
No, but I promise it's somewhat related. Something that I think Trump does need to start talking about, given this, talking about inversion made me think of this. He should be saying that we are in a recession.
Good.
He should be saying that left and right, because you don't want to win the presidency, go in, and now we're in a recession, because then it's like, oh, happened under your watch. So
Yeah, I would love, for me, the one that I keep talking about, and the one that JD Vance brought up again this afternoon, is Trump is the only president in like 45 years to have a positive, real increase in the earnings
yeah,
of the population. Everybody else, the inflation has been higher than the earnings, and he was the one president that was able to do that. Unfortunately, was interrupted by COVID. Brent is Brent is under 70 at 69 and 19, and Texas Intermediate at 66.31. And some people think it might go even lower.
that's crazy, huh?
Yeah, natural gas up 0.49, $2.24, pretty much in the range. Gold up $3, but still, well, right now getting very, very close to the all-time high, 2,546. I think it's about 15 under the all-time high, at least intraday. Silver up 0.46, still under 30, 28.75, and copper up 0.13, pretty much where it's been at $4.10. Anything in that is interesting to you or worthy of comment?
No, I wish I had something smart to say. I don't.
Okay, nothing smart to say. And then we've got the dollar, basically completely unchanged at this point, slightly down against the yen, but not worth talking about. And then Bitcoin is finally recovering a tad, but it's still at 57,582. And nothing to say about that either.
Nah, I mean, I'm still waiting to see the halving effect. So
Me too. Yeah, you said it was 4 months, right? It hasn't happened yet.
yeah,
The pre-market, we've got the Dow down 42 or 0.1%. We've got S&P down 8.75 or 0.16%. And then NASDAQ down 38 or 0.2%. So all three down as we go into the debate. What does that mean? Anything?
No, doesn't mean anything. I think I think tomorrow's gonna be a very interesting day. Tomorrow we've got post debate, we've got CPI, we've got the the world's gonna wake up to the fact that Tesla just sent out the um, wow, drawing a blank. Tesla just sent out the applications for you
Oh, yeah.
to wow, what is wrong with me?
10-10.
To apply for 1010 for the Robotaxi event. So you can go ahead and put your shares into the lottery and see if you are one of the lucky few. And if you are, and I am not, or Randy is not,
We are looking for your plus
w-
ones.
we make great dates.
Yes, we do.
Feel free to slide into our DMs should you get one and we do not.
Absolutely. And it turns out that Tesla is up 33 cents in the after hours. Actually, the after hours is closed now, so there you are. 0.33 is what it did in the after hours. There you go. Good
You,
day.
my friend, need to get Robinhood. It is open. It's
Oh, I
up
see.
0.335.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, little life hack for you guys. If you don't have Robinhood,
I'm
I
good.
don't use it for anything just to look at this. You can see
So
the
you can see
24-hour market.
all night long.
So,
Oh man,
yep,
I kind of like finally putting it to bed,
yeah,
All
I
right.
like it,
Yeah.
especially Sunday night. Sunday night is fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a good time. Yeah. I can imagine Sunday night would be a good time to have it. All right. So just a real quick note for people to go take a look at Brian White's video from earlier today, because he talked about the Vancouver show, the Everything Electric show, and that is worth watching to see everything that he found out while he was up there. And other than that, I think we'll say adieu. And as is this exact moment, we're 50 minutes away from the debate. So let's get this one put up so that people can have a chance to watch most of it before they have to turn it off.
Sounds good.
All
Thank you,
right.
Randy.
Great talk. Great having you. And thank you. And then great talking to all of you.